Hello, Merry Meet. So, I wanted to chime in on the discussion on whatever raw stones, as in stones that just been hacked out of the earth and used as they are, or faceted or tumbled or otherwise polished stones, are the best for healing and magical work. And I believe that with any occult tool, it really comes up to the practitioner. Because while I do believe that stones crystals have some power of their own, I believe that when used within magic, their main power comes from the belief of the practitioner. That's like there's some crystal healers that say that no, you can use that crystal's energy. If you don't have an amethyst on hand, for example, and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm getting a headache, I really need to treat this with amethyst, you can basically visualize an amethyst, or just sit there with your phone and you just search amethyst, Google images, poof, I have a picture of an amethyst. And you use that because that will connect you to the energy of that crystal. But Soto says, no, you have to have an amethyst and it has to be no heat treatment, no nothing. It has to be completely raw. So it very much varies, and I believe that whatever you believe is correct for you is what's correct for you. But what I can say something about is what I personally prefer to work with. And for me, it varies what am I doing. If I am working with, for example, earth magic, uh, or for example, marking a circle when doing a ritual, or anything that's down to earth, that has that sort of raw feeling to it, I like to use raw crystals. Like here, this is tiger's eye. Now, as you can see, these unpolished stones that basically just hacked out of the mountain, they are not as flashy. They look much more like the stones you find on the ground, and that's another thing that you have to consider. Magic very much is theater for your mind. It is a way for you to believe that it will have an effect. Because really, that's what you're doing. It's not like, at least not what I believe, it's not like if you do exactly these words, exactly this, exactly that, then that will in its of itself cause magic. It's you that's causing this. But these various things is a way for you to believe that this will happen. So like I said, I do believe that there are uh, energy within stones. And you can feel that, but with some stones having different energy than others. But I can also see that for many people, the pretty polished stones will give better theater for their minds than something like this, which is pretty plain. Don't get that pretty tiger's eye thing with this without polishing it. Now, for me, unpolished stones feel much more natural. It feels much more down to earth. I get much more, if I'm going to use this for worship of pagan gods, for example, I feel that stones like this connects me much more to the earth. And especially for a stone like tiger's eye that I might use for grounding, I prefer them to be raw. Because they just simply have that much more earthy feel to me. But if that is actually the case, or if it's because they look that way that I get that feeling of it, that varies. When it comes to healing, it very much depends. I personally like to work with raw stones. I feel that I very often have a very natural energy that lends itself very well to being directed. Well, when stones has been prepared and manipulated, they get much more of the energy of the people that's worked with them. But that's again, like I said, just me. But if I'm, for example, using stones to put on somebody's body, I would probably choose tumbled stones because these has sharpish edges and such. It doesn't feel as nice against the skin as a tumbled stone. Let me just show you an example of that. Hello, let's have some tumbled stones. What's the English? Sodalite? Yeah, I think it's sodalite. It's sodalite. in Norwegian, so I'm pretty sure it's sodalite. So yeah, as you see, this is tumbled, which they do with they just basically put the stones in a big thing that goes round and round and round. Oh, how technically we are today, with some sand and such that just polishes it. But there's other ways to polish stones, so also, but basically various forms of polish, because this will feel much nicer on the body. So if I am doing a crystal layout on somebody's body, I would probably use stones like this. And for pocket stones and such, they certainly feels better against the skin. So basically for me it has to do with, if I'm working with raw power, basically, if I just want the stone's energy right straight up, and I'm not gonna have it put it on somebody's skin, I prefer to work with raw stones because I feel a stronger connection to earth. I feel a stronger connection with that stone when it is raw. While and as untreated as possible. If they have just basically hacked it out and that's all they've done, that's perfect for me. But if I'm going to do a layout on somebody's skin, or sometimes I might want a stone polished into a certain degree, let's say I'm doing a love spell, I might want a rose quartz heart to symbolize that, or let's say I am working on something to gain wisdom, to make it easier to learn, then I might want an amethyst owl. And those sort of things. I use both. I do not say that this is the only way. But when it comes to things like stone magic and basically just working with the raw power of the stones, I prefer something like this that is a raw piece. And for me, like I said, it's just that when I feel the stone's energy, it just feels more natural to me. It feels stronger than a stone that has been treated in all sorts of ways. It's a little bit the same as with food, that to me it feels more natural to eat things that basically has. When I get a salad that you just basically cleanse under the tap water to get the dirt out with, so it has nothing has been done with it other than basically picking it up and putting it in a crate. That feels much. It feels that that's the kind of food that will better my connection to earth. But when something has had preservatives and it has been done a lot to it, that's something else. But like I said, it really varies. It's not one of those things that you can say this is how it is. Now, most people that work with stones says that raw pieces have a natural, more raw energy. Basically, it is perhaps less refined, but has what should I say? It has more of that raw, natural strength to it, while a polished stone is more refined. So that of course has both things that have positive and negative sides. For me, I think it's important not to just basically say, this is how I want to do it, this is the only way to do it, and just ignore every other way, because then I think you are missing out on quite a few things. So yeah, for me, like I said, I prefer raw stones, though of course I do think that polished stones are prettier. My favorite stone is, I have this large piece of faceted blue topaz. That's how it's pronounced. It's topaz, right? Yes. And I mean that's faceted, so yeah. But if working with something that where I just want that rock energy, to me it feels more natural. It feels more back to the source of it than when a stone has been polished and dyed and done a lot of things with. Now, again, like I said, I'm not in and of itself against color treating stones. It really depends how. When you just treat amethyst to get citrines, then that sort of doesn't work because it's just the colors. But when you, for example, use metal to dye quartz or hematite to get specifically that rainbow shine to it, then you add some extra energies to that stone. I mean, I even use cherry quartz, which is basically as colored glass. So yeah, it's not that it has to be a natural. I mean, I actually love working with orgone, and that's mostly resin. So yeah, it's not that, but if I'm working with a raw piece of stone, it feels more like I'm connecting with earth than when I'm working with something that has been polished. But it, I don't think there is one right way or one wrong way to do this. It really depends on the individual. And I mean, each stone book will have its own say in this, depending on what the author prefers. But I believe that you should just work with it yourself. See what works best for you. Does it work best with the tumble stones? Does particular shapes work best for you? Do stones that are raw work best for you? Basically, you have to experiment for yourself and determine for yourself how it works best for you in particular. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that issue. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a great day and blessed be.